The stars watched as the girl fell. High above the clouds of the planet Valora, the royal cliffs glowed under a silver moon. The crowd below stood silent, thousands of eyes fixed on the edge. At the top stood Princess Lyra, her silver hair shining in the cold wind. Chains wrapped around her hands, her feet bare on the stone floor. The royal guards held her tight. Her brother, Prince Kale, stood a few steps away, his face calm but his eyes burning with pride and fear. Lyra of House Virel, the elder guard announced, his voice echoing across the valley. You are accused of treason against the crown. You helped the humans escape our warships. You betrayed your blood. The crowd gasped. Lyra didn't look at them. Her eyes searched the sky instead, the same sky where the stars whispered secrets of other worlds. I didn't betray my people, she said softly. I tried to save lives. They were not the enemy. Kale's lips twisted into a cruel smile. Mercy is weakness. You chose the wrong side, sister. I chose what was right, she whispered. Kale lifted his hand. The guards pushed her closer to the edge. The wind roared like an angry beast. Dust and golden sand flew around her. For 1 second, everything went quiet. Lyra closed her eyes. She remembered the small human boy she had, once saved on a destroyed battlefield. His frightened eyes, his tiny hand reaching for hers. She remembered his words in broken speech. Thank you. A tear slipped down her cheek. Then Kale spoke the final words. Let justice fall. The guards released her. Lyra fell. The world became a blur of light and shadow. The cliffside rushed past her as her long white robes tore in the wind. The screams of the crowd faded into the distance. She reached out as if she could grab the air and stop time, but the sky didn't listen. As she dropped through the mist, something ancient awoke beneath the surface of Valora, an old, forgotten power sleeping under the mountains. The air shimmered. A strange blue light rose from the valley floor, wrapping around her body like a cocoon. The energy slowed her fall, just enough to keep her alive, before she hit the deep forest below. The ground cracked, and her body disappeared into a glowing cave hidden under the roots of giant trees. Silence returned to the cliffs. The crowd cheered, believing the traitor was dead. Kyle turned away without looking down. But deep inside, a shadow of doubt touched his heart. He felt something he could not name, as if fate itself was watching. Far below, in the heart of the forest, the blue light pulsed around Lyra's body. She lay still, breathing faintly. Her skin shimmered like starlight. The ancient energy, sensing her royal blood, began to protect her, freezing her in time. Her heartbeat slowed until it was almost silent. The forest covered her with roots and soil. The years began to pass. 15 years later, millions of miles away on a small blue planet called Earth, a signal appeared on an old satellite. It was weak, broken, but real. The machine detected an unknown energy signature, one not made by any human. The computer logged the coordinates and sent them to an exploration network. Then, the signal vanished. For years, the file slept in a forgotten database, until one day, a young engineer named Ethan Cross opened it by accident while searching for old mission data. He frowned at the strange readings. Life form detected, non-human origin, location, Valora. He didn't know why, but something about the numbers made his chest tighten. That night he dreamed of a girl falling from the sky, her hair glowing like silver light. He woke up sweating, his heart racing. He didn't know her name, he didn't know her face, but he knew this. She was calling for help. Back on Valora, the blue light deep in the forest flickered again. Lyra's fingers moved slightly, as if reacting to something far away. The ancient power protecting her seemed to feel the same pull, a connection through time and space. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the same 3 words that started it all. She still lives. The night sky above Earth shimmered, with thousands of stars, but one tiny blinking dot on a forgotten screen changed everything. Ethan Cross leaned over his desk inside a quiet research station in the Nevada desert. The room was filled with old computers, wires, and the hum of machines that hadn't been upgraded in years. He was supposed to check satellite logs for errors, but something strange appeared on his monitor, an old dusty file from 15 years ago. The title read, Signal Unknown Life Form, Origin, Planet Valora. Ethan frowned. Valora? That's not on any active chart. He clicked it open. The data looked messy, a weak heartbeat pattern wrapped in blue energy waves. It was as if something or someone was sleeping beneath the planet's surface. He leaned closer, whispering to himself, Is this real? He didn't know it yet, but that small pulse of light would soon change his life. The next morning, Ethan went to his supervisor. Sir, I found something unusual in the archives, he said, holding a printout. It's an energy signal from Valora, 15 years old, but it looks alive. The supervisor laughed softly. Valora? That's just an old myth. That planet's toxic, uninhabitable. Forget it. But this reading, Ethan started. Cross, you've been spending too much time with machines. Take a break. Ethan nodded quietly, but inside he couldn't stop thinking about it. That night he opened the file again. The same energy pattern glowed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. He zoomed in. The pulse changed slightly, as if it reacted to his touch. A whisper of wind passed through the open window, and for a split second, he saw a flash in his mind. A girl falling through clouds, her eyes glowing silver. He gasped and pushed away from the desk. What the hell was that? He didn't believe in visions, but the image felt real. Too real. Weeks later, Ethan joined a private exploration company called Starreach Industries. They were planning a deep space mission to search for old signals and alien ruins. He offered to join as an engineer, and secretly uploaded the Valora coordinates into the mission database. When the day came, he stood inside the spaceship Artemis 9, his heart racing. The engines roared, and Earth became a blue marble fading in the distance. After months of travel through dark space, the ship reached Valora's orbit. The planet looked peaceful from above. Green forests, silver mountains, and floating clouds glowing faintly blue. But something about it felt alive, as if the planet itself was breathing. The crew prepared landing pods. Ethan's hand shook slightly as he entered his pod. This is it, he whispered. If that signal was real, I'll find it. The pod entered the atmosphere, shaking violently. Lightning flashed outside. The rest of the team landed near the mountains, but Ethan secretly changed his course. His scanner showed a faint energy trail deep in the western forest. Sorry, Captain, he muttered. I need to see this. He landed in a misty valley filled with glowing trees. The air felt heavy, almost humming with quiet power. He stepped out, his boots sinking into soft blue moss. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the drip of rain, seemed to echo in his head. He followed the scanner deeper into the forest. The readings grew stronger. Then the ground beneath him started to glow, faint blue veins of energy running through the soil. This can't be natural, he whispered. He reached a clearing. In the center stood a strange structure, half rock, half crystal, shaped like a giant cocoon buried under roots. The scanner beeped wildly. The signal came from inside it. Ethan's heart pounded. He brushed away the dirt, revealing the surface, smooth, glass-like, pulsing with light. Inside, something moved. He stepped back, breathing hard. Oh my God! He couldn't finish the sentence. The shape inside was humanoid, small, graceful, female. Her hair floated like threads of silver light and her skin shimmered faintly through the crystal. She looked asleep, peaceful, frozen in time. Ethan touched the surface. It was warm. Suddenly the ground trembled. The energy surged through his glove, sending a spark into his arm. He cried out but didn't pull away. The crystal began to crack, glowing brighter and brighter until it burst open with a wave of blue fire. He stumbled back, shielding his face. When the light faded, the girl was gone, No. She was lying on the ground, breathing slowly, her eyes still closed. Ethan stared in shock. She's alive. The girl stirred, whispering something in a language he couldn't understand. Then her eyes opened, silver and bright like stars. For a moment, neither moved. The wind fell silent. The human and the alien looked at each other, both confused, both afraid, both connected by fate. And above them, unseen, a satellite light blinked and sending a signal back to space. Subject reawakened. The air was still. The forest whispered softly as if afraid to breathe. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the girl who had just come back to life. Blue light still danced around her body like smoke fading into the mist. Her skin glowed faintly and her silver hair shimmered in the darkness. She looked human, but there was something otherworldly about her, too perfect, too still. Ethan's voice trembled. "Hey, can you hear me?" The girl didn't answer. Her eyes blinked open, silver like moonlight, sharp and glowing from within. For a long moment she looked straight at him, her gaze both lost and dangerous. "Stay back," Ethan said softly, raising his hands. "I won't hurt you." She tilted her head, confused by his words. Then suddenly she pushed herself up and stepped away, her legs weak but graceful. She looked around in the forest, the trees, the broken crystal shell. Her eyes filled with fear and wonder, like someone seeing the world for the first time. She spoke in a soft, musical voice. But Ethan couldn't understand the language. Her words echoed, carried by the wind. I don't understand," he said. "Do you know English? Can you hear me?" The girl frowned. She looked down at his chest, at the blinking light on his scanner, then at his face again. Her expression changed. A mix of realization and disbelief crossed her eyes. "Human," she whispered in a trembling voice. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. You know the word?" Her expression turned cold. In a blink, she stepped back and raised her hand. The blue light around her fingers flared, forming a glowing energy blade from thin air. Ethan stumbled back, eyes wide. "Whoa, wait, I'm not your enemy," he shouted, but she didn't lower the weapon. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "Humans destroyed our world," Ethan froze. "I don't know what you mean, but I'm not here to hurt you. I found you. You were trapped." The blue light around her flickered uncertainly. She looked down at her own hands, confused, as if she didn't remember how she got there. Her eyes softened for a moment. "Trapped," she repeated, her voice quiet. Then she looked past Ethan, at the cracked cocoon. Her body stiffened. Memories began to flood her mind in flashes. The crowd, the cliff, her brother's cold eyes. The fall, the light, the endless sleep. She gasped and clutched her chest. Her knees hit the ground as pain tore through her. Ethan rushed forward but stopped when she raised her hand weakly, warning him to stay away. "I remember," she whispered. "They threw me from the cliffs." Ethan's heart ached at the words. Who did this to you?" She looked up at him, tears in her eyes but anger burning behind them. "My people." The forest trembled as her power reacted to her emotions. The ground cracked slightly beneath her feet. Ethan shielded his face from the blue sparks flying through the air. Hey, calm down," he said quickly. "You're safe now, okay?" "You're alive, she said slowly, tasting the word. "After all this time?" She looked up at the night sky. The moons of Valora hung above them, glowing softly. "How long?" Ethan checked his scanner. 15 years. "You've been asleep for 15 years, her eyes widened. 15 cycles. She whispered something under her breath, a prayer maybe, or a curse. Then after a long silence, she looked back at him. "You are the one who woke me." Ethan nodded carefully. "Yeah, it was an accident." "I didn't mean to." "Accidents do not happen," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Not on Valora." The light around her faded. Her energy blade vanished into thin air. Slowly, she stood up straight, looking weaker now, more human. "What is your name?" Ethan asked. "Lyra," she said. Her voice was calm but heavy, as if the name itself carried 1,000 years of pain. "Lyra," Ethan repeated softly. "I'm Ethan." For the first time, she smiled faintly, just a small, cautious curve of her lips. But then her expression darkened again. She looked toward the sky, her face pale. "They will come for me," she said. "They will sense my return," Ethan frowned. "Who?" "The Royal Guard," she whispered. "My brother's soldiers. If they find me, they'll kill us both." The forest grew quiet again. The wind stopped. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. He looked at her, fragile but powerful, lost but dangerous, and made a decision. Then we better move before they do. Lyra turned to him slowly, eyes searching his face. You would help me? Even after knowing what I am? Ethan smiled faintly. You said humans destroyed your world. Maybe I can prove you wrong. For the first time, Lyra looked unsure. She nodded slowly. Then we run. And as they stepped into the dark forest together far above them, a red beacon flared on a royal ship orbiting Valora. A soldier turned to his commander. Commander Kale, we've detected her energy signal. The princess is alive. Kale's eyes turned cold. Then find her, he said, and finish what we started. The forest was no longer quiet. Strange lights moved between the trees, red beams sweeping through the mist like hungry eyes. The sound of engines hummed above the canopy as metallic drones searched the ground. Somewhere in the distance, the low roar of a royal ship echoed through the mountains. They were hunting. Lyra and Ethan moved silently through the thick jungle, their shadows blending with the fog. The glowing veins of blue energy that ran beneath Valora's soil lit their path faintly, like ghostly rivers. Every step felt heavy, every breath too loud. How long before they find us? Ethan whispered. Lyra glanced up at the sky. They already have. She pointed to the glowing drones flying in formation. Those are royal scouts. Once they trace my energy signature, they'll send soldiers. Ethan's grip tightened on his scanner. Can't we hide your signal? She shook her head. It's part of my blood. The royal line carries energy that the planet itself recognizes. Wherever I go, Valora feels me. Ethan frowned. That's poetic, but not helpful. Despite the danger, Lyra gave him a small, tired smile. You talk too much for a soldier. I'm not a soldier, he replied. Just an engineer who doesn't like leaving people behind. They kept moving until the forest opened into a wide valley. Strange stone towers covered in alien symbols rose from the ground, ruins long forgotten. Lyra stopped and placed her hand on one of the carvings. The stones responded, glowing faintly beneath her touch. This was once a sanctuary, she whispered, before the royals turned it into a graveyard. Ethan studied her face. You know this place? I used to come here as a child. My mother said the first light of Valora lived here, the power that connects all living things. Ethan looked around. Maybe that's why the signal led me here. Maybe the planet wanted me to find you. Lyra gave him a curious look. You speak like someone who believes in destiny. He smiled slightly. I believe in second chances. Before she could answer, a sharp beeping broke the silence. Ethan's scanner flashed red. Multiple heat signatures, fast, closing in from the north. They found us, he said. Lyra turned, her silver eyes narrowing. Then we make them regret it. She lifted her hand, summoning blue light that shaped itself into twin energy blades. Ethan ducked behind a rock and pulled out his portable drone pack. Small metallic spheres he used for field repairs. He reprogrammed them quickly. What are you doing? She asked. Improvising, he tossed the drones into the air. They lit up, forming a glowing perimeter around them. The first wave of royal soldiers burst through the trees, firing plasma shots. Ethan's drones intercepted, creating a crackling energy field. The blasts exploded harmlessly against the barrier. Lyra moved like lightning. She dashed forward, cutting through the soldiers with swift, precise strikes. Her movements were graceful, almost like a dance. But her eyes showed pain more than rage. She didn't want to kill. She wanted to survive. Ethan watched, amazed and terrified. Remind me not to make you angry. When the last drone fell, silence returned. The forest burned faintly where plasma had hit the trees. Lyra dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Her light flickered weakly. You're hurt, Ethan said, rushing to her. It's not my body, she whispered. It's my power. It weakens each time I use it. The planet is rejecting me. Ethan hesitated. Rejecting you? Why? Because I defied the crown, she said softly. The energy that protects my blood now tries to destroy it. He didn't understand the science or magic behind her words, but he could see the pain on her face. Then let me help you. There must be something we can do. Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes reflecting the flames around them. There is one place. The Archives of Light, beneath the ruins of the royal city. If we reach them, I can restore my connection to the planet. Ethan nodded. Then that's where we go, she frowned. It's not that simple. The archives are guarded by my brother's army. It's suicide. Maybe, Ethan said. But staying here is worse. For the first time, Lyra saw something strange in him. A kind of courage that didn't come from power, but from heart. She had seen warriors and kings, but never a human who looked at danger with quiet defiance. "You're different," she whispered. "You're kind. They fear what they don't understand." "Yeah," Ethan said with a grin. "But some of us are just bad at listening." Lyra actually laughed, a small, genuine sound that surprised even her. For a moment, the fear faded. Then above them, a deep roar shook the forest. A massive ship broke through the clouds, a royal destroyer dark and winged like a predator. Its searchlight swept across the valley. Ethan looked up, eyes wide. "I'm guessing that's not friendly?" Lyra's voice turned cold. "That's my brother." The ship released a swarm of glowing drones that spread across the sky. Lyra and Ethan ran toward the ruins, diving into an ancient tunnel just before the lights found them. The ground above exploded as the first bombardment hit. In the darkness, Ethan turned on a dim torch. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes glowing faintly. "Looks like your plan worked," he said breathlessly. She looked at him, tired but determined. "This is only the beginning, human," Ethan smiled faintly. "Then let's make sure it's a story worth telling." And far above, on the destroyer's command deck, Prince Kale watched the forest burn. His voice was calm, almost amused. "Run, sister. Run as far as you can. I'll find you." The tunnels beneath the forest stretched endlessly, carved from glowing blue stone that pulsed with faint energy. The air was damp and heavy, but it carried an ancient hum, like the planet itself was alive and whispering old memories. Lyra and Ethan moved carefully through the narrow path, their footsteps echoing softly. Ethan's small flashlight threw shaky shadows on the walls while Lyra's eyes glowed faintly, guiding them through the darkness. "How deep do these tunnels go?" Ethan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "All the way to the old capital," Lyra said. "These paths were built before my people learned to fly. The archives are hidden there, beneath the throne." Ethan frowned. "You said your brother guards it." Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, that's where he keeps the truth locked away." They stopped when the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Strange floating stones hovered above a pool of liquid light. At the center stood a massive crystal pillar, cracked but still glowing softly. Lyra approached it carefully. "This is a memory core," she said. "It records moments in the planet's history. Every royal is bound to it when they are born. Their memories, their choices, everything is stored here." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "So it's like an ancient hard drive?" Lyra looked confused. "A what?" "Never mind," he said, smiling. "Can it show what happened to you?" She nodded and pressed her hand against the crystal. Blue energy wrapped around her arm and the surface rippled like water. The light dimmed, then formed shapes. Images flickered inside the crystal. A throne room filled with light, soldiers standing in perfect rows, and a young Lyra kneeling before the council. Her voice trembled. "This was the day before my fall." Ethan watched silently as the vision played out. Kyle stood before the council, tall and proud, wearing the royal sigil. "My sister has broken the sacred code," he said in the memory. "She gave aid to the humans during the war. She let them escape. She cannot rule beside us." Lyra's younger self lifted her head. "They were children." "They were dying." "You let weakness spread into our bloodline," Kale snapped. "You chose emotion over order," the council murmured in agreement. Lyra's mother, the queen, looked torn but said nothing. Kale turned to the guards. "Take her to the cliffs." The vision blurred, turning to chaos, the crowd, the storm, the fall. Lyra pulled her hand away, breathing hard. The glow faded. "So," Ethan said quietly, "your brother betrayed you to protect his power." Lyra nodded, her expression distant. "He feared that my compassion would destroy the empire. He believed emotion was a disease." Ethan's jaw tightened. "He tried to kill his own sister for that?" Lyra looked at him, her voice soft. "On Valora, power is law. But I saw something different in humans. Even in their weakness, there was strength. When I helped those children escape, I thought, maybe one day our worlds could meet again." She turned to face the crystal, her silver eyes shimmering with pain. "Instead, I was erased." Ethan took a step closer. "Then we bring the truth back. If that core holds the memories, we can show everyone what really happened. Lyra hesitated. The core's link to the surface is broken. It must be reactivated from the central archive, deep below the royal palace. Only a member of the royal bloodline can access it. Then you're the key, Ethan said simply. Lyra looked away. I don't deserve to return. Ethan shook his head. That's not true. You tried to do the right thing when everyone else turned blind. You don't have to run anymore. Her eyes softened. Humans always find hope in broken things. Maybe because we've been broken so many times, he said with a small smile. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The faint hum of the planet surrounded them like a heartbeat. Lyra placed her hand on the crystal again, but this time a different image appeared, a dark chamber. Kale stood beside a shadowy figure cloaked in red. The figure spoke in a deep metallic voice. The human signal has returned. Your sister's protector has come. Kale's eyes burned with hatred. Then we end both of them. The vision ended abruptly. Ethan exhaled slowly. They know we're alive. Lyra turned toward him, her expression calm but resolute. Then there is no turning back. If we are to survive, we must reach the palace before Kale does. He nodded. We'll need a plan. Lyra extended her hand toward the crystal one last time. The light responded. A small orb detached from the pillar and floated into her palm. This will guide us, she said. It carries the memory of truth. Once we reach the archive, it will unlock the gates. Ethan looked at the glowing orb, then at her. Then we've got a mission. Lyra smiled faintly, tired but determined. You speak like a soldier after all, he grinned. Let's just say I'm learning from the best. They turned toward the dark tunnel ahead, unaware that far above, Kale's warship was descending through the storm clouds, his voice echoing through the ship's halls. Activate the purge protocol. Leave nothing alive. Lightning flashed across the sky, painting Valora in ghostly light as the hunt began once more. But this time, Lyra wasn't running from her past, she was walking straight into it. The dawn over Valora was not peaceful. The sky burned. Massive warships hovered above the clouds, their engines roaring like thunder. Streams of fire cut across the horizon as plasma cannons charged, painting the heavens red. Birds fled from the forest below, and the planet trembled under the weight of war once again. In the distance, inside the ancient tunnels, Ethan and Lyra stood at the edge of a glowing transport lift. The air hummed with energy as the ancient machinery came alive. Ethan looked up through the opening above. That leads to the surface? Lyra nodded. Beyond that, the royal city. Where your brother waits, he said quietly. Lyra's eyes hardened. Yes, and where this ends. The lift carried them up through layers of ancient stone until the world opened in a burst of light. The royal city rose before them, golden towers floating above the clouds connected by bridges of glass and energy. But now the city burned. Kale's soldiers filled the skies, flying on sleek silver crafts. Explosions shook the air. Ethan whistled softly. So we're walking into hell. Lyra smiled faintly. No, Ethan, we're walking home. They moved quickly through the ruins. The people below scattered in panic, running as Kale's guards stormed the streets. The sound of sirens and laser fire echoed through the air. Lyra moved like a ghost, dodging searchlights, her silver hair glowing faintly under the smoke-filled sky. Ethan followed close behind, clutching the small memory orb they had taken from the crystal core. Once we get to the palace, he said, how do we activate the archive? The orb will do it, Lyra replied. It carries the truth of my fall. Once connected to the royal AI, the truth will broadcast across the planet. Ethan smirked. So we're basically hacking your brother's empire. Lyra blinked at the unfamiliar word, then gave a faint smile. If that means taking back what he stole, then yes. We're hacking him. Suddenly, a bright beam cut across the street, narrowly missing them. The wall behind them exploded. Soldiers appeared from the rooftops, weapons raised. Move, Ethan shouted. They ran through the smoke as plasma bolts shattered the ground around them. Lyra leaped gracefully across the debris, spinning midair and sending a pulse of blue energy toward the attackers. The blast threw the soldiers back like leaves in the wind. Ethan covered his ears as thunder cracked above. Kale's flagship, the Sovereign, descended lower, its shadow covering the city. Through the smoke, Lyra saw her brother standing on the deck, his eyes locked on her. Their gazes met across the chaos. Sister, Kale's voice boomed through the comm speakers. You should have stayed dead, Lyra whispered to herself. Maybe I should have. Then she looked at Ethan. But I'm not alone this time. They reached a landing platform filled with old royal ships. Ethan scanned one, a medium-sized fighter, still functional. "Can you fly this thing?" he asked. Lyra looked at the controls and smiled. "I built this model." Within moments, the engines roared to life. The ship lifted off just as Kale's forces spotted them. A squadron of enemy fighters followed, firing relentlessly. Ethan took the co-pilot seat, gripping the console. "You focus on flying, I'll handle defense." He reactivated his drone pack, sending out a swarm of metal spheres. They formed a protective barrier around the ship, intercepting shots. The sky erupted with fire and lightning as the chase began, twisting between burning towers and collapsing bridges. Lyra's voice was calm but fierce. "Hold on." She spun the ship sharply, flying straight into the clouds. Enemy ships followed close behind. Ethan rerouted power to the rear thrusters, shouting, "Try to keep them off our tail." "I'm trying," Lyra said through gritted teeth. "They're faster," Ethan grinned. "Not smarter." He flipped a switch, releasing his drones. The small machines flew behind them and exploded, creating a blinding flash. The enemy pilots screamed as their sensors went blind, crashing into one another. Lyra glanced at him, impressed. "You call that human ingenuity?" He smirked. "We call it thinking on the fly." But victory was short. The Sovereign appeared from the clouds, massive cannons charging. A beam of red energy fired toward them. Lyra swerved, but the shockwave caught their ship, throwing it sideways. Ethan hit the controls, sparks flying. "Engines are down. We're losing altitude." Lyra's jaw clenched. "We're not crashing." "Not yet." She closed her eyes and placed her hand on the console. Her energy flowed through the ship, merging with its circuits. The engines reignited, glowing blue instead of red. The ship rose again, faster than before. Ethan watched in awe. "You're connected to it?" Lyra smiled faintly. "It listens to me. It remembers who I am." The ship soared upward, straight toward Kale's flagship. Ethan's eyes widened. "Lyra, what are you doing?" "Ending this," she said. She fired the ship's main cannon directly at the flagship's core. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sunrise. The Sovereign staggered, fire erupting from its sides. But the blast hit their own ship too. The control panels burst and alarms blared. Ethan grabbed her arm. "We have to eject." Lyra shook her head. "Not yet. I must deliver the truth." The memory orb on the dashboard glowed bright, reacting to the destruction. Lyra took it in her hands. "If I don't survive, make sure this reaches the archive." Ethan shouted, "No, you're not dying here." The ship spiraled downward, fire trailing behind. The city rushed up beneath them. Lyra looked at him one last time, her voice soft but strong. "You once said humans believe in second chances. Don't waste yours." And before Ethan could answer, the world turned white. The world was quiet again. Smoke drifted across the shattered city. The sky, once burning with war, was now painted in gold and ash. The royal towers stood broken. Their glowing bridges collapsed into the clouds below. The air smelled of dust, ozone, and sorrow. And from that silence, a sound, a faint cough. Ethan. He lay among the wreckage of the crashed ship, his uniform torn, blood staining his arm. His ears rang from the explosion, but he was alive. Slowly, painfully, he sat up, blinking through the smoke. "Lyra," he whispered. The co-pilot seat beside him was empty. The cracked windshield reflected the rising sun, and beyond it, the ruins of the palace. Ethan pushed himself to his feet, limping toward the exit. The memory orb lay on the floor, still glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. He picked it up carefully. "You kept your word," he said softly. Outside, the city was unrecognizable. Fires burned on every level, and the skyships that once ruled the air were now falling stars scattered across the horizon. In the distance, he saw movement. Survivors. Varelians, soldiers, and civilians crawling from debris, looking up at the sky in confusion. The Royal AI network, once Kale's tool of control, flickered back to life. Giant holograms sparked across the remaining towers, replaying old footage. Ethan turned as Lyra's voice echoed through the city. "This is Princess Lyra of House Virel," her recording said. "For years you were told lies, that I betrayed my blood, that I chose humans over my own kind. But the truth was never treason." The holograms shifted, showing Kale ordering her execution, showing his alliance with the cloaked figure. The people gasped, watching the betrayal unfold. I chose compassion, the recording continued. And for that I was cast away. But I did not die. I lived to see what my brother feared. That kindness is not weakness. It is strength. Ethan felt tears sting his eyes. The message she had carried and the truth was now free. Across the city, soldiers lowered their weapons. The crowd gathered in silence, listening to their lost princess's voice echo through the ruins. When you hear this, Lyra's voice said softly, know that Valora belongs not to bloodlines or crowns, but to all who still have the courage to care. Remember the name of the one who stood beside me, a human who showed me the strength of heart. Ethan froze as the message ended with one final sentence. His kind may be far from here, but one day their light will reach us all. The hologram faded. The people stood still, and then, one by one, they knelt high above. The royal flagship Sovereign still burned in the sky, slowly falling apart. On its bridge, Prince Kel struggled to breathe. His armor cracked and his ship groaned under the flames. He looked out the window, watching his sister's face replay on the city below. Lyra, he whispered, a single tear cutting through the ash on his face. You won. The ship exploded in a silent flash of light, disappearing into the clouds. Ethan made his way to the palace steps. The ancient door stood open, cracked but still glowing with faint blue energy. Inside, the great hall was half destroyed. Pillars shattered, windows broken, but the central crystal throne still stood. At its base, surrounded by dust and light, was Lyra. She lay still, her silver hair spread around her like a halo. The blue glow that once pulsed through her skin was fading. Ethan fell to his knees beside her, his voice breaking. Lyra, please, don't go. Her eyes fluttered open weakly. Ethan? He grabbed her hand gently. You did it. They saw the truth. It's over, she smiled faintly. It was never about me. It was about them. About us. He shook his head, tears falling. You saved a world. You deserve to live in it. Her fingers brushed his cheek. And you showed me how. The blue light around her began to rise, and lifting tiny glowing particles into the air. Her voice was soft, fading. Valora is healing. The planet will remember, and so will I. Lyra, no, she smiled one last time. Goodbye, my human. The light burst around her and she was gone, her body dissolving into pure energy, merging with the crystal throne. The entire palace shone brightly for a moment, then dimmed to a calm, peaceful glow. Ethan sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. Outside, the people looked up as the clouds parted for the first time in decades. A beam of blue light shot into the sky, the mark of the planet reborn. Months later, back on Earth, Ethan stood on a hill overlooking the desert, the same place where he had first discovered the signal. In his hand was a small crystal shard, the last remnant of Lyra's ship glowing faintly. He whispered to the sky, You saved them. You saved all of us. The wind blew softly, carrying his words upward. For a brief second, the shard pulsed brighter, clacking as if answering him, and somewhere far above, in the stars, the light of Valora flickered, not as a warning, but as a promise. A story that began with a fall had ended with a return. Because sometimes the universe doesn't forget kindness, it only waits and for the right moment to return it.